Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS Secretary, and Kevin Stitt, Governor of the great state of Oklahoma. Great to see you both, gentlemen. Secretary, first I'll begin with you. How is it going and what is the response like? I get what the companies are doing, but what are Americans telling you about this?
Well, I love what Dr. Mark Siegel just said. We're getting this extraordinary outpouring of cooperation, and it's, without regulation, without having to do that. These companies are standing up. We had Nestle's this week. We had ConAgra. I'm getting rid of food dyes. We've had Kraft, the biggest food company, that has also pledged to do that. Tyson's Food.
Food ingredients flagged by the MAHA Commission: artificial coloring and dyes, artificial sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup, pesticides, preservatives, seed oils, titanium dioxide, ultra-processed grains, sugars, and fats. It's crazy when you look at the ingredients of the food in the US comparing to, I'm from Europe, so comparing to Europe. And even if you look around when you're in the US, it's easy to have a picture that everyone eats a lot, which is true. In the US, the portions are like 2 times the size of in Europe. I remember my wife, when I had a flight to US for the first time, she's like, don't order anything large. If you order medium, it's going to be enough for you because the portions are just so big. So it's easy to fall into the misconception that people just don't know how to control themselves in the US, right? Because if you compare average American to average European, you'll see straight away who's unhealthy, right? But if we look at all of this flagged ingredients by MAHA, some of them are actually addictive. Like the sweeteners, addictive, high fructose corn syrup, that's going to be addictive for sure. Oils, sometimes, right? Preservatives, unhealthy. Like there's so many unhealthy ingredients that I don't even know if it's a fault of the average American anymore that they're unhealthy. I feel like the food companies just decided that they're going to make money off them, which obviously it's business, right? Like no one should be surprised about it. But the amount of regulation or lack of regulation in the US regarding food industry is crazy. And I wonder how deep it goes, because obviously if people are unhealthy thanks to the food industry, who's profiting of that? Well, pharmaceuticals, right? Obviously. So I don't know if I can blame the average Americans anymore, because it literally looks like someone's AOE farming them. Anyway, let's continue.
Food has already gotten rid of all of its dyes. And then, we've got little companies like Steak and Shake and many of the fast food companies that have now pledged to get seed oils out and go back to beef tallow-fat. So, and then the insurance companies have now come to the table and agreed to get rid of most of their prior authorizations, which is going to change the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans. And the great thing about it is that, we have not had to regulate. We have not had to drop that hammer. We're getting this extraordinary outpouring of enthusiasm and cooperation. And Governor Kevin Stitt is a template for what's happening at the state level. We've had I think we've had 20 states now that are moving towards SNAP waivers and are getting rid of fluoride or are banning bell-to-bell cell phones in schools, and
Yep.
It's very, very gratifying.
Yeah, the cell phone in particularly, that issue is really spreading even to some blue areas, blue states like mine of New Jersey. Both my kids have experienced that in school this year and last year. Governor Stitt, talk to me about being one of those states where the secretary at the HHS can come in and you partner together. Is that coming from hearing from your constituents? What's driving it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, most Americans, definitely all Oklahoma, really wants this Make America Healthy Again movement. And so we want Oklahomans to be healthy. If you look at childhood obesity, it's 1 out of every 3 kids in the U.S. Oklahoma is no different.
No, no, no. Okay, let me say this thing, and I stood by that. I know I kind of excuse the average American, but for childhood obesity, that should be considered child abuse. I'm sorry, you should face charges for that, because you should have enough common sense to know what to feed your kid, what's healthy, what's not. And if you're unsure, there is a lot of literature, a lot of resources that will tell you what to do. One thing you probably don't realize, I had a lot of friends that are doctors, and they actually don't really study nutrition at school. So yeah, if you ask doctor what to eat, they might not be able to answer you, which is crazy to me. Apparently they have like just few hours of nutrition. And I mean, for every doctor, it should be important, right? Especially for like general doctor or something like that. They should be able to provide advice for you. But then at the same time, on the other side, usually clinics have some dietitians, at least here in Canada. I don't know about the US, but I wouldn't be surprised if they follow the same trend, right? So anyway, I think like childhood obesity or child obesity should definitely be considered child abuse, because you're literally screwing their whole life. Because if you make someone addicted on sugar when they're just growing, evolving, what's the correct word that I want to say? Yeah, I guess growing, developing, that's the word. When they're developing, they're going to become addicted to that. And I know about that because my family had a candy store. And my great-grandma brought me a full bag of chocolates and sweets when I was pretty much teenager, 10, well, actually not teenager yet, right? Preteen, 10 to 13. Still developing, right? And guess what? Right now, that's my biggest addiction, sweets. Like I managed to go without sweets for like 3-6 months. But then if I have one candy, guess what happens the next day? Well, I had this one, so I can have it more. So it's full on addiction. And I'm not going to blame my great-grandma because she meant it good. And I was never obese, so that's another thing. But at the same time, like that's where it started, right? So yeah, definitely educate the parents. I feel like there should be a levels to deal with childhood obesity, but once it's at the stage of obesity, that's child abuse. Yeah, for sure.
So what can we do to improve that health? And so I've got a request to, on the SNAP waiver request right now on the USDA's desk to remove soda, confectionery foods, candy from being able to be used for SNAP benefits. So that's one thing. And then I'm signing an executive order today
Nice.
To make sure that the food we feed kids in schools and also prisons, any state-sponsored food, we eliminate any kind of artificial dyes. So we're excited about that. And then my Department of Health, I'm removing the recommendation for fluoride in the water across all the municipalities. So we're just kind of following his lead, and we're thinking about how do we make Oklahomans healthy again. And we're so excited that Secretary Kennedy is here in Oklahoma with us today.
You know, particularly with the issue of fluoride, Secretary, what has been the response from dentists in America who may be concerned that some children in lower incomes in particular don't get those regular dental preventative type situations where they can go in and get their teeth more indemnified and treated against cavities?
Well, people will still get indemnified for it to the extent that they're already indemnified. But, it is an issue. It's a balance. You're going to see probably slightly more cavities, although in Europe, where they banned fluoride, they did not see an uptick in cavities. The issue is parents need to decide, because the science is very clear on fluoride. The National Toxicity Program issued a report, a meta-review of all the science on it in August that said there's a direct inverse correlation between the amount of fluoride in your water and your loss of IQ. So even small increments of fluoride cause loss of IQ, and particularly in babies, in neonates, and in pre-birth, if the mother's exposed. And those children are getting no benefit because they don't have teeth. So, and it's
That's a
really
good point.
up to the parents. We have fluoride available. Fluoride made a lot of sense in the 1940s, but today we have fluoride in our toothpaste. We have it available in mouthwash.
Sure.
You can get it.
Yeah.
The benefit is topical. There's no systemic benefits. So when you drink it, it's not giving you an additional benefit. So it makes sense, and it ought to be up to the parents. The government shouldn't be saying you should take a neurotoxin. And there's all other kinds of other bad impacts from fluoride. It reduces bone density, and it calcifies your thyroid. 1 out of every 8 women in this country have thyroid problems now. Oh, the balance, when on balance, it's probably something that we want to leave to the individual rather than have the state mandated.
That is the most complete and usable answer, and I'm a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe leaning into what you're saying because I'm a mom.
That was good.
But that was amazing, and it answered a whole lot. And when you get to that thyroid issue, especially among some.
Well, another thing is, so fluoride helps you to fight cavity, right? Well, if we're talking about the kids, who cares about their first teeth? They're gonna fall out anyway. So if they have cavities on them, obviously it's not ideal. But would you rather have a higher IQ or lose your first teeth a little bit sooner, which you're gonna lose anyway? And comparing to toothpaste and mouthwash, you're not swallowing these. But with the water, you're gonna swallow that. So for me as a parent, I would rather fluoride-free water for my kids as well. And unfortunately, I heard the news that in Calgary, I'm not connected on the Calgary water, so I hope I'll be okay. But the Calgary is gonna start putting fluoride into their drinking water again. So we'll see if that's gonna happen actually, or if someone's gonna fight against it. But I wasn't aware about that research, to be honest, or study.
Women of color, it's a big deal because we tend to have that quite often. I want to get to this. Secretary, you are also encouraging Americans to use wearable tech to track their health, and particularly obesity. And some of it looks great, by the way. We've got this up on the screen, but you're saying it's not what it looks like, it's what it does.
Well, yeah, I mean, it puts the individual in charge of their own health. I have a friend who, I have many friends who have worn glucose meters and have lost their diabetes diagnoses because of that. Because they're able to you might go and buy a yogurt and think this is healthy for me, and then you watch your glucose spike and you think, I gotta go to a different kind of yogurt. I have a good friend who, because he was wearing a glucose meter, he saw that if he ate a dessert, his glucose would spike off the roof.
Yeah.
If he ate a steak or a piece of meat, protein, and then ate the dessert, there was no glucose spike. So you can start understanding your own health, understanding as you chew your food, the glucose meter is registering what it's doing to your body. And that kind of information puts individuals in charge of their own health, and it improves their understanding of what food is actually doing to their bodies, and that's really critical.
Governor Stitt, I'll give the last question to you about the event today. Just spell it out for us and what the goal is on this day of conversation, not just with Oklahoma, but with people across America.
Well, we're really excited. It's going to be here in our rotunda here at the state capitol in MOHA movement, which is Make Oklahoma Healthy Again. We're launching today, and we've got moms and kids and legislators and my cabinet from all over the state that are here to celebrate and to welcome Secretary Kennedy into town. And really, it's food is medicine, and some of the things that the Secretary was articulating. How do we make Oklahoma healthy again? How do we bring awareness? And I love what you said, Secretary, that, hey, let's just put the individual in charge of what they're going to do with their children and how much fluoride. And so those are the things we're going to talk about. And also, we're going to go out and check out my garden. I love gardening, and I've been posting that. And so we may do some other contests around the state. And I run the Memorial Marathon every year with a relay team. So really just trying to promote health and wellness and fitness. And when you do that, yeah, from that perspective.
Elicited a smile and a chuckle out of the Secretary when we talked about liking gardening. Look, Secretary, you hit a couple of things today, and I hope people we'll replay this again on our social media, but you talked about diabetes, you talked about obesity, you talked about the chronic illness that now we're seeing in younger generations of people. So I thank you for that level of detail. Thank you to you both for being in focus today.
Thank you.
Love it. 100% love it, and I 100% agree about the food, that it's actually how did he say that it heals you? Well, everything starts with the food, right? I used to be personal trainer, so I know a little bit about nutrition. The funny thing is, and you saw all of these memes, like if you eat fast food and how many calories it has in comparison to the healthy food. And I remember in the best shape I've ever been, I was eating so much, but I was getting ripped. I was eating sweet potatoes, chicken breast, beef, all of it in one day, 6 big meals, and yet I got into the best shape of my life, and I mean lean. I don't mean big and bulky. No, lean. And I was healthy. Obviously, not every time what we think is healthy is actually healthy. For example, cheese. Cheese, it's known that it has some additive or something added to it that it actually makes the cheese makes you addicted on the cheese. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry, I lost the thread over there a little bit. Yeah, so cheese actually has some ingredient that makes you addicted on the cheese. So similar to the chocolate and stuff like this, the way it interacts with your brain, it's just supporting addiction. And another big issue that I keep seeing around, and it's better in the European Union because they kind of focused on that, but here in Canada and in the US, it's not as good. Some of the food is presented as being healthy, but no one's really regulating it. No one really decides what is healthy or no. You're almost able to find chocolate with the healthy sticker, which is ridiculous. Like if you go to the healthy section and look at some of these protein bars, you have a protein bar or something that they call protein bar, and it has less than 8 grams of protein, but somehow it has over 30 grams of sugar. How is that healthy, and how is that even called a protein bar? You can drink chocolate milk and it's gonna have the same nutritions like this protein bar, but you know that the chocolate milk is unhealthy. And yet this is presented as healthy alternative. 30 grams of sugars for 8 grams of protein, and you call it protein bar? No, that's ridiculous. So I feel like we need to bring this to the schools as well. Some like basics of nutrition, like what's really healthy, what's not. Because back in the day, it was common knowledge. Yes, eat your vegetable, eat your meat or protein sources, right? Processed food is bad. Vegetable will help you. You had all of these diagrams of you're supposed to have 30% of protein, 60% of carbs, 10% of fat. Not all fat is bad. And I believe this education just got kind of lost, or the school system is not pushing it through. And I feel like obesity and just nutrition education, it's something that comes from childhood, because you're going to have the same habits like your parents, and it's going to be hard to break it. And like I said, in my case, I have addiction on sweets. I might be able to go without it, but then I touch it once and I'm back in it. And it all comes from childhood. So yeah, definitely nutrition's important, and I'm really glad to see what RFK is doing in the US, and that he's really passionate about it. And you see it, he's healthy, strong, old guy. It's really admirable.